All right. Well, what can I say except you guys have shown me that you're very serious about getting this confidence. But let me tell you something before we go any further. Male Confidence 1.0 did a lot for you. I am sure it did. But what I'm about to tell you might upset you a little bit because I really am telling the truth when I say this. We just beginning. We are just beginning. Even if you feel hella improvement in how you approach women, how you talk about what you want to talk about. I know you feel like this has been a long journey, and it has. It really has. It really has been a long journey. It's a journey that was needed because if you understand my philosophy, you guys missed all this. You would have gotten, not exactly the way I said it, but you would have gotten the tools to obtain these things that we got out of our first course if you would have been raised a little differently. You guys were raised with T-ball, man. Come on. Shoot, man. You can't, if you don't have to really try, if you don't have to really want what you're trying to do, then you're just playing. And the powers that be thought that was better for the kids to not be competitive. This is not your fault. It's not your mom's fault. It's not your dad's fault. It's the powers that be. And they wanted kids to be less competitive so they can grow up less aggressive. Well, let me tell you something. For boys, I'm not against gays. But when I was a kid, the only boy that wanted to play just to be in the game was the guy that was a little sweet. Every other boy, no matter what game it was, wanted to play to win. You know why? They didn't know it, but their dads knew it. Their dads might not even known they knew it. But they knew that that competitiveness is what's going to make him turn into a man. It's part of what information, learning how to deal with life, but that competitiveness is what you guys really missed. So, like I say, I know you believe that this has been a long journey, but believe me, it is not coming to an end anytime soon. The reason it's not coming to an end anytime in the near future is twofold. Because for one, I bet you don't want it to come to an end. I bet you can't, you're salivating just waiting to hear what I got to say for part 2. Or course 2, excuse me. Because this shit is dope. And I believe you know it's dope. And I'm going to get into it. This is another thing I'm doing with this part of the course. I'm trying to put more information on a single disc. I don't want to use the amount. I want to use more, maybe 90 minutes. So we're going to see. The first part of the twofold reason that it's not coming to an end is that you don't want it to end. And the second part is being a man does not ever stop until we are 6 feet under. This journey that we're taking is actually just truly beginning. And just like you saw me, the guy that claimed to know it all, using my notes last time, I have my notes now. I am not kidding. I'm serious. This is very serious business. So make your mind up to be real, to be truthful, and most importantly, do what is necessary to get what you want. Let me ask a question. Do you guys realize how far you have come in these? Some of you been 2 years, but a lot of you haven't even been a year. Have you realized how far you have come in the, as far as being a man goes? As far as growing as a man? Have you really stopped to assess what you've accomplished? See, you guys learned in Male Confidence 1.0, you learned how to think. And you learned some of how to act. What you don't know is that you also erased a decade at least, possibly even more in some cases, of doubt. You erased it. You've ridded yourself of the unnecessary and just as unfounded insecurities that you had. And most importantly, you increased your self-worth, your self-value, at least tenfold. Believe me, these are monumental accomplishments. So you definitely been making moves. These accomplishments, actually, I want to be among the first to formally congratulate you. Because what you've done is taken a wild bull by the horns, and you've taken every toss he can give you, and you held on. Now is when we put the work in that we know we're doing. See, course one, you didn't know what you was doing. You just was trusting me. And you learned a lot by trusting me. Course one, you learned to trust yourself. But you didn't know what you were doing. Now you do. You have a little game under your belt that you have used. You have made this work for you. And it's time to grow. It's time to grow, baby. That's what time it is. It's time to grow. We are getting ready to grow. Now, first of all, let me applaud you. I want to applaud you. I want you to know that I appreciate your efforts. I appreciate what you've done. And I want you to appreciate it. But rest assured, I know what we've done. But I also know I can't rest on that accomplishment. And I don't expect you to rest on it. I don't expect you to even want to rest on the accomplishment we've made. Now, I'm going to get into it, but you know me, I lead up. I want you to understand everything. There's one thing that you want to get used to. From this point on, you want to get used to this. And that's, you cannot rest on your laurels. Of course that hill was high. Of course it took all you had to get to the top. But believe me, once you get to that plateau at the top, you're only going to see another hill. You couldn't see it before because the hill you climbed was so steep, you couldn't see over it. But once you get to the top and you're at the plateau, you will see another hill. So get used to not wanting to rest on your laurels. Now, this great improvement that you see in yourself, that you've made, has graduated you It has graduated you to the 2nd grade. You're in the 2nd grade in the overall scheme of things, especially the things we're going to be talking about. That's why you're going to sit back and you're going to use all of the things you learned in the first course to help you understand this 2nd course. You got to understand that. Even though you made these giant changes in your life, there is much to do. See, the difference now is you already knew how to read, but you were reading the wrong material. That's when you were lost in the manhood category, getting women category. Then you got that male confidence 1.0. That's, I'm telling you, when you started learning. And you begin to read the correct material. And what a difference it made in your life. See, this is what we gotta grasp. The shit we doing is actually making a difference in your life. It's making a difference. This is why it's important. Hell yeah, I talk shit. Hell yeah, I was this motherfucker in the streets. But I went to school and I learned hella shit. You see my shit. I learned hella shit. So what's going to happen now is you're going to get the help from a motherfucker that know the kind of shit I know in an educated fashion so that you can use it at work. See, the powerful thing is you're feeling this way, this accomplished way, and you've only just gotten the ball rolling. See, I keep saying this kind of stuff, but I'm not trying to downplay what you're doing. I'm only trying to show you how little you have actually done. Even that little, a minute amount, is an enormous amount in the overall scheme of things when you look at what you're trying to accomplish. Imagine the feelings of accomplishment that you're going to have when you finish this course. Imagine how you're going to feel if you knew you were only on the 3rd level of 10 in understanding confidence. Because that's what this course is going to show you. It's going to show you the level that you're on, and it's going to explain to you a couple of more levels to get to. Now, this is not in any way trying to downplay what you've done. I'm serious. I'm not trying to downplay what you've done. I'm only trying to emphasize what it's going to take to keep the momentum going. Rosebud, love you motherfuckers. I talk hella shit. I can't help it. But I want you all to be the caliber of man that I'm going to talk about today. And it takes information, processing it, and using it. Because if you're anything like I think you are, you're going to want those other 7 steps, those other 7 levels. Now, right now, as I speak to you, I'm preparing you to take the next 2 steps necessary in male confidence. You know how I'm preparing you? I'm making you recall all that stuff from the first course by me referring to it so much. You're recalling it. And if you don't, revisit it. What I'm saying is, believe me. Believe me. You're not done with the first course. You've only learned it. And now you can go on because you have reference. You have reference points. and you will know what I'm talking about without me having to stop and explain it all. This is how sharp, luckily, I was when I brought that first course, because I knew it would tie in to an entire lifestyle. And what you're going to learn is that lifestyle, that mentality. And you're going to love me for it. You're going to love me for it. And you know what? I love you for having me do this, because it's teaching me hella shit as I try to teach you. So life is a learning process, and continue to learn no matter what level you think you're on. If you're on the top, you may want to learn how to create another level. Now, we're going to acquire. I'm going to help you acquire the selfishness and conceit. You've heard me talk about it. You've heard me explain it, but you don't know shit about it. You're finna learn about it right now. You're finna learn what it means for you to be selfish and conceited in a good way. You already know that selfish and conceit could be a very bad thing. But we also know English is the only language where one word can mean several doggone things. So instead of we going for the meaning someone else want the word to mean or phrase to mean that you used, we're only focusing on what we mean when we use it. Selfish, when we use it, means that we are considering ourselves more than others because it's healthy to protect your body, mind, and soul. And we're going to use conceit, and because we mean that we believe in ourselves. We know our lives better, much better than anyone else. So I believe that I know what's best for me. I'm a conceited bastard, so what? Understand these words. We won't be using them very much because you know everything I'm talking about is going to be based on you being conceited and selfish, wanting something. Because you know you can't get shit if you don't want shit. That's why the ABPs, always be playing, is so important. Because if you're always playing, it's because you're trying to get what you're playing for. Meaning you're always wanting something. You're always doing something to get something. It's not selfish, hating people who don't want everything for yourself. It's not that. It's selfish because you want you to grow. Period. Now, we have already learned that confidence, you don't know you learned this. But when I mention it, you're going to say, damn, I did learn that. I haven't mentioned it yet, so you don't know what I'm saying. But listen to me, because I can talk to you now. Before I had to preach at you, because you didn't know. But you know so much now. You can follow me. You understand me. But let me tell you something. You've learned that confidence is very tricky. Didn't you? Sometimes even when you got it, it's not doing what you wanted to do. It's tricky until you can see yourself really getting used to it. That's why the guys that's been with me for maybe 3 years, they're seeing that they're getting used to it. But this course is going to really clear a path for them. For you, that's, maybe a year in, year and a half in, you're going to have to understand all this and process it and get to it. But those that's 3.5 years in, they've been doing it even though I haven't directed them to do it. That's what the course does for you. And as I go on, you will see that I'm not just bragging. I am bragging, but I'm not just bragging. In this course, there's going to be times that I'm going to be in the field. And I'm going to have a microphone hidden. And I'm going to record actual conversations that I have with broads. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that because you need to see how it doesn't matter what the fuck the bitch say to me. Excuse me. It doesn't matter what the woman says to me. It only matters that I know where I want to go in the conversation. That's what you need to understand about life in general. I'm going to show you how to be you. I mean, not me. I'm not going to show you how to be me. I'm going to show you how to be you, but with a flair that is irresistible to women. This is what I'm doing in part 2. Take a woman, let's say, that you don't know and you haven't met yet. How do you get at her? How do you approach her? See, we're going to explore that. And we're going to explore even more. See, part 1, which is where we're at now, of the Male Confidence 2.0, is going to mainly get you to recognize the caliber of man you have become. It's going to show you the power you have unleashed. You've unleashed this power in you. And more importantly, this first part is going to show you how to use this. See, I'm not going to give you information and leave it up to you to understand it. How to use it, work it, how, process it. No. I am going to give you the information and I'm going to tell you what to do to process it and utilize it. It's completely up to you to do it. But that's what I'm going to do. Nothing is worth anything if you cannot harness it to be of value to you in your life. Male confidence ain't gonna do you no good if you can't use it in your life because you learned it or read about it. You gotta be able to use it. Did you know male confidence needs to be fed? It has an appetite. And you feed it by not accepting the same shit over and over and over. Even if it's good shit. You don't want to accept it. Over and over and over. Repetitiously. See, a man with real confidence is never satisfied with what he has done. He's just not. He's not satisfied with what he's done. Although he recognizes and appreciates his effort, in the process. He does. You have to be the kind of man who want to win. You got to be the kind of dude that when you win, it demands another win. And another. So on and so forth. See, from learning Male Confidence 1.0, you should understand that being a man who doubts he can win will never enter your mind again. And if it does, you will handle it because you know how to weed your garden. The only way you will find yourself thinking is, how do I manipulate this to work for me? That's what you're going to start thinking about every damn thing you think about. That's when you will really be on your ABPs. You're going to know you are really, really, really on your ABPs when everything you think of is filtered through how can it benefit me? I told you, we have started the 2015 off with being politically correct. And being politically correct includes only me first. I'm telling you, me first. This is how you're going to be politically correct. You don't want to say the right words. That's not politically correct. That's a part of it, I guess. But being politically correct is me first. Now, after this course, knowing that you won't ever again experience, well, I take that back. Just knowing that you won't have doubts again will be sealed in your mind. It'll be sealed in your very being. And yes, that's why I changed my mind. You may have a doubt here or there again, but you know what to do about it. You know what to do, and you know how not to let yourself slip back. You know how to check yourself. You know how to recheck yourself. And you know how to implement those checkings into your now life. But, see, also, you should realize that when you have these doubts, that's when you can revisit Male Confidence 1.0. And guess what? Guess what's so dope now? You can watch that shit back to back. You can watch it back to back now. See, you can do that now because you're not the uninformed man you was before. You've sealed in your mind that you're growing from what you already know. See, so I could watch it back to back because I know so much stuff about what's going on. But you couldn't. That's why I wanted you one at a time. One at a time. Now that you're on the second course, when you have to revisit the first course, you can watch it like a series because what? You're basing what you're seeing on what you really already know. You learned it. It became you. This is dope. I'm a dope dealer. I can't help it. I'm selling dope. So, see, like I said, you can do it now because it's been sealed in your mind. And you're growing from what you're seeing now. You're not learning. You are learning, but it's not new information learning. Just rest assured that I have covered all the bases. And as long as you stay up on my Ask Rosebud show, you won't have to worry about what could happen because we gonna make what we want happen. Speaking of my shows, when you listen in now, can't you hear those dudes asking the same questions that they asked years ago? All the dudes that have been with me for years, if that's the case, and haven't bought the course, they're on the show still, listening in the same place they was 3-4 years ago when they started listening. You're not. That's the dope I'm selling, man. I'm telling you. I'm always, going to be explicit with the truth. But you're going to pick it up. You ain't going to let my coarseness or roughness or whatever you want to call it, you ain't going to let it make you miss the information. Because you're not afraid. You're not afraid. What you're afraid of is to miss the information. And this is a good thing. That's why. I like to say or ask, maybe I should ask this. Can't you see how you were them? And now you have like taken charge of your life and you know you will never be the same? I mean, you got to understand that's the value of taking a chance, doing something that you wasn't sure of, but you wanted the results that were indicated could happen. Okay, back to business. See, the first thing we're going to get into, really, more things right now. But the first thing that we have to do now is go over our place as a confident man, confident of the world, worldly things. We got to go over our place of having your way with women. Now that you've acquired the tools to carry yourself as royalty, you can never leave that realm of thought again. Let me repeat this. This is very important. Course 2 is taking that conceit and selfishness that you acquired and showing you how to make it help you become royalty. Pay attention, because we're really getting busy. You got to promise me. You got to promise yourself that you'll begin to always think of yourself as being royalty. I don't mean royalty in a stupid way, with a blown up ego type way. But I mean royalty in a way that makes you see yourself and think of yourself differently from now on. Making you can't do what the average dude does. I mean, you gotta think of yourself as a regal person. I do. See, I think of myself as being regal by the way I do and carry myself. And now that we are joined in a fraternity, you're part of my descendant. And we're legitimate royalty. Not kings and queens that rule over countries. We're kings of ourselves and whoever endeavors to join us. Think this way. You deserve to be treated as royalty. You deserve it because of the lengths that you will go to, preserve or carry on our lineage. Now that you have gone that extra mile to obtain a better outlook on you and how you see what you do every day, especially on having women, use that outlook. Use that outlook at all times. And don't hesitate to get hooked on the feeling that you're going to get from it. Now remember, a junkie has to use every day. So do you. Because this is dope and you're fixing to be hooked. You're going to see yourself in a different light. And we're finna start it out with how you think and carry yourself. Since you are royalty, you're going to act in a regal way in all of your actions. from now to eternity and beyond. You're going to do this. You're going to tell yourself that you're not going to be petty anymore, and you're going to see things the way kings see things. Do you remember in the second part of the first 1.0 where we discussed the junkie and why the junkie chooses the particular drug he chooses? I'm sure you do. If you don't revisit that, that's in part 2. But from this point on, after finishing the course, this part of the course, and using what you learned, you're going to have just taken a hit of being royalty. And you're going to get sprung on it. You should be sprung on it. You should be just as sprung as a crack addict is on crack. You should be sprung. Your drug of choice should be this. Should be feeling what you feel when you know you're royalty. You should never want to not feel it again. See, remaining confident at all costs should be your drug of choice, now and forever. You have to realize what's happening to you. You have to realize what's going on in your mind, what's taking place as these things connect. This course, Male Confidence 2.0, is going to help to get you to the point where you are answering every single question that comes your way. Every single one. You're going to start feeling obligated to yourself to address and answer any question posed to you. Something like playing chess with yourself. There's no way you can play chess with yourself and not know what your opponent is going to do. It's just impossible not to know. Just as knowing what to think about a thought or what to think about what to do will become just as impossible for you to. It will be just as impossible for you not to do it. You're going to do it at all costs. This is what you're learning now. This is where we're going. This is how we're going to get there. I have it all here. And believe me, this is going to be powerful. We're getting into it slowly, but we will. Tear the floor up. See, there's 4 aspects of getting things done. These aspects of getting things done, especially when it comes to answering questions to yourself, you have to utilize these. And you have to pass all of them by dealing with them as they occur. You can't just list them and deal with them. They might, come out in different order. But you have to deal with them when they occur. And we're going to talk about it. See, a lot of you guys are still contemplating when you should be moving. And we're going to clear all of that up now. The first aspect of getting things done is accepting that you are contemplating. But men who get stuck or stick around too long in this stage of thinking about confidence, see, or moving on a woman, or whatever you're thinking about, see, they know in their mind they still have a slight problem. But they haven't really decided what to do about it, or to do anything about it yet. See, this is a phase of confidence that I refer to as disbelief. You're in the disbelief phase of confidence. And what's going on here correct me if I'm wrong. But what's going on here is you don't believe that you have acquired the necessary tools or skills that you were missing. You just don't believe it. And I want you to understand that in order to believe in yourself, you have to understand that things you learn will manifest themselves if you allow it. You don't allow things to manifest by doubting what you've accomplished. You haven't learned to trust yourself, for one thing. You haven't learned to trust what you're thinking about a particular situation, especially a woman. Now, you got to accept that you've learned. Accept this. You've learned, but you stopped short of using what you learned. You stopped short of using the very thing that you bought to raise your consciousness about being a man. That's okay. We're going to handle it. There's times that you can I bet that there's times that you can totally know that you've improved in the confidence arena. But something just keeps holding you back. I know it. Don't let that bother you, man, in the least bit. Because we are going to handle it right now. Don't let none of it bother you. See, we are proactive. We are proactive. We go after things. And to remain that way, see, once you realize something, let's say that you still have a little anxiety when it comes to social activities, you got to go to the nearest one, the closest one to you. It could be a park, it could be whatever, library, wherever. You got to go to it. And you got to put some work in right then. And then when you're on your way from there, analyze it. Don't give up on course 1. Don't put it in the shelf. You still need it. You just need to be careful not to allow yourself to fall back into any of those old ways that you left behind when you first bought the course, the first course. You gotta still constantly monitor yourself. You got to monitor your thoughts. And if you have been doing this, but you've still been kind of anxious, that's because you've been isolating yourself from social activities. Stop isolating yourself. You have to understand, you can't continue to isolate yourself from or within these gatherings. You don't have to be the life of the party or nothing like that. I'm not, saying that. But you can calmly walk around whoever is there, or walk around the place. And by using the techniques that we used in the course 1 for rejection, which is, speaking to everyone, being jovial, but not waiting around for a conversation. Not expecting to hear nothing back. You can use that. You can use that now. It works in a lot of situations. Don't forget what Course 1 taught you. Use it now to learn Course 2. Don't forget Course 1. We need it still. Don't make yourself dependent on the need of a conversation. Right now, you should be using what we learned in Course 1, and you should be using all of your confidence to use your body language and your facial expressions. You should be using them more than ever now, because you have them. Those are ammunition, part of your arsenal. The nonverbal part, but it's still part of it. Your arsenal is vast. All of this is what you learned the confidence for, isn't it? being brave enough to do the things that's required to make you appreciate it. So, it takes a lot of confidence to use facial expressions. Hey, back, just take confidence to, do that. Raise your eye, all this, man. It takes confidence. So this is not going to be easy, but it damn sure ain't going to be difficult. Let's just do it. See, once you made your rounds as far as in that little particular setting, and you've checked the place out, you may as well go get a seat at the bar or the lounge and chill, because this is what you're going to do. Because at this point, all you wanted to do was be seen in the party or whatever it is. If you order a drink, sip it. Sip it very slowly. And do not pay attention to any woman in particular. Do not give any woman the eye. If your eyes meet one inadvertently, then you got to smile, give her a little head nod, and then take your eyes off into another direction. Because this is the time to allow your aura to command the attention of the ones who is loose. Your aura will command the attention of the women that you can have. It'll make all women notice you, but it'll command the attention of the ones you can have, and they are the ones that you want to get at. You do remember me telling you that the only woman you can have is a loose one. You do remember that, don't you? It's true. Your aura cannot do what it's should do if you're walking around, if you not walking around, but if you messing with all the women, if you just doing all this stuff, your aura ain't gonna work for you. No, you gotta be like away, although you're there. You know what I'm saying? You not necessarily aloof, but you just gotta be into the kind of frame of mind that you're just walking around so people can feel your presence. And you always have to think that. And I'm going to give you a lot more information about your presence a little later on. We're building steam now. So, now, if you use your aura properly, you'll find that the only thing you need to do is smile. In order to let your aura work, you have to not be on the prowl, as far as, aggressively being at women. Your aura works when you look like you're not really concerned with the party, or even whatever event you're at. You look like you're just there being courteous. But the thing is, you are on the prowl. You are there to get this or that woman. But you got to act like you're not. You got to present yourself as if you're not. And women is going to notice it. They're going to notice it. See, you sit and you cross your leg, man style, and you just know this information I just gave you. You sit and know that there is some woman somewhere in this vicinity, in this place, creaming on me. And you give her something to cream for. Making sure, grooming, you know what I'm saying? Just posing, doing what you're supposed to do. This is how you work. This is how you put real work in. You continually gaze at the club, you gaze around, and the revelers and shit, you see them. But you don't look at any one person in particular. No, you don't. If you know a few people there and you missed them when you walked around, it's okay to go around, go up to them, speak to them 1 or 2 minutes, whatever, and then leave. But when you leave, you got to make sure that you have a smile on your face when you leave. Just a smile just on your face. Because in your mind, you know there is a woman watching your every move. If not women, plural, watching your every move. So you got to move gracefully. And you got to make sure people see you smiling. Even if you got to act like, as you walk off, you say something, move your lips, whoop, whoop, and then crack up to yourself. You know, they don't know what you're smiling at. They just know that you look jovial. You want to appear to be a jovial type person. Having a good time alone. You want to appear that way. But fortunately for you, since you walked around the whole set and spoke to everybody, one of them bros is noticing you. And you gonna get your action. One of them women you spoke to earlier want to talk to you now. So you don't know this, but this is what you think. This is what I thought. And I was just always ready for that motherfucker, whoever she was. You just got to understand. You got to be playing. See, now when this woman do come by, when she does do what we learned, which she will do, and that's come by and not really say nothing, but come in your presence, do what we learned in 1.0. Get at her. Don't be scared. Get at her. You stay calm and you let her see you're cool. You smile, but you don't rush into no conversation. You don't do it too quickly anyway. These things are very important. Let's say the situation jumped off for me that she came in my vicinity and I see she's in my vicinity. So, and she actually said something to me. Let's say she say hi. Well, I'm going to say something like, good evening. How might you be doing this fine night? I'll be smiling because I know my smile is very important. And she going to say, I'm doing okay. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to make a face. See, you got to play. I'm telling you, facial expressions catch. You got to make a ma'am, something like that. Ma'am, if I may be so bold as to suggest that you do not ever describe your well-being ever again as merely okay. Now, let me tell you something about that statement. With that expression, she's going to think you either mad or what the hell you saying because of that expression. But you want her to think something. And when she say whatever she say, she's going to let you know what she's thinking. But you want her to be keyed into your expression. Because when she do ask, well, why do you suggest that? You tell her in a smiling face with a very relaxed expression that you know, because I'm an art dealer. And I've not seen a sculpted beauty like you in a very long time. And it just irked me that you said you were only okay. Now, she gonna say something because she heard me hit on her. Oh, that was cute. Mind if I sit down? She gonna say something like that. Man, excuse my manners, lady. Of course, please. And I pull the seat out for her. But what I'm saying to you is what gets women when you talk to them is you taking your time to talk. You know, sometimes you get excited because when they say something, you got something to say right back, and you do. But that's not how you really are supposed to get at a woman. You aren't supposed to really let them set the pace. That's why you take your time at first. Now, if you want to go faster after you get her excitedly listening to you, do so. But play your hand first. You see, in the scenario that I just described, playing it cool only involves having something to say and not saying it too quickly. The wittier the better, because I told you humor is very important. But the most important thing is not to rush your statements. And during this exchange, keep your eyes locked on hers. Try not to look down at all. Make sure that the woman is not too far away from you when you start this conversation, because as soon as you can, you're going to want to touch her. Yes, you're going to want to touch her, even if it's just to guide her arm. See, you got to make sure that you play everything that's available to you to play. And touching her arm and gently guiding it to whatever, or touching wherever you touch and gently doing it, is actually a physical attraction that you're going to establish just by gently touching her and not really wanting anything in return other than her to notice your gentle touch. You got to understand these things. This is the time for you not to think so much. You don't think about things so much. Just do it. Do it calmly. This course, this 2.0 course, is going to get you to get used to playing it on the natural. Because very soon, all of this is going to be natural to you. But you got to get used to it. And you got to understand, doing what I'm saying, doing exactly like I'm saying, doing it is what is necessary to get it established. Because we got a lot more to go in this course that I'm not going to be able to cover in this first part. I just want you to be ready to absorb this information. Remember, this all comes from the proper preparation. And if you studied the Confidence Course 1.0, you've done many exercises. You've done a lot of exercises that have prepared you for what we're about to do and master. See, because the second aspect of getting things done is preparation. You have to already have accepted the need for change. And you may have actually started preparing, something, or putting something together that to change the outcomes of your future interactions with women. Just don't make the mistake of half-heartedly using the things that we learned in the first course. You have to be serious. Maintaining what you got from the first course is a major part of preparation for this course. These courses go together. They're not separate. You have to see how to use both courses in your everyday lives at the same time. They both can be used because they're all part of one thought. So you can use them together, which you need to use them together. Do not just, well, of course, when you're learning part 2, you focus on the course 2. But when you have learned it, you use that thought in its entirety, the whole 5 parts. This should be your thought process. See, for it to become second nature to you, for it to actually be something that you don't have to think about to do, it'll have to be fully incorporated within you. And that's why you got to do what I'm telling you to do. You're accomplished, or you accomplish that by savoring the few victories you get, and whatever they are. You savor them, talk about them, make yourself see them. And you see how you directed them to come about. If you're making things happen, and then things happen as you made, you can look back and see how your work is developing, how it's taking you where you're going. But you got to be observant to do this stuff. It just doesn't happen on its own. And just because you didn't, got a little anxious, it doesn't mean you're supposed to forget all of the stuff you've already learned. You got to understand it. Instead, wherever you are, when you recognize that you become a little anxious, or you got some kind of situation, problem, whatever, developing, you got to stop and critically dissect what you are feeling. Remember, I told you about critical thinking. Critical dissecting means you simply ask what, when, how, where, all the questions that you can to make you dig deeper into the statement or the problem that's occurring. And when you dissect it, break it down if that's the case, you're going to find that many times it has no basis. It has no basis whatsoever, excuse me. You will find that the only basis that it has is in your mind. And you must go over that, and you must weed that. Because remember, weeding the garden. The things we learned in part 1 are still in play now as we learn part 2. Don't get caught up in part 2 to the extent when something comes up from part 2, you don't use part 1 to handle it. You may have to because you haven't learned all of part 2. Understand? Talking to a woman is easy. It's easy when you're not trying to score home runs with every one of them. So, to be seen as a royal family member, you don't really want a woman to think that you want her. You just really don't. You don't really want her to know that. At least I don't. I always say, when they say something indicating it, I say something the opposite. In a humor way, but I don't let them know or think that I'm like hungry for them. I want them to think, and you should want them to think, that you should care less. That you could really care less. You're just being a gentleman because you are, and that shows. You want her to see you as simply being a gentleman. That's why you're being nice and conversational. But your demeanor is so calm and collected that, she's just attracted to you. That's really attraction. That's what happens when a woman gets attracted. She starts trying to figure out a way to be around you or near you so that you can say something to her. But see, we gonna play our hands to where they say something to us. Just tag along and listen. I got a lot of shit to tell you. You want her to think that, because the longer that you keep her there, it's going to really be detrimental to you actually getting at her. So if you got her thinking that you really ain't interested when you buzz on her, after having a little, small talk, you just invite her to accept your card. And tell her to call you in an hour and a half. See, what you're doing when you do that, what you're actually doing is giving her some excitement because she's so used to people hitting on her to do this or that. You're giving her an exciting reason to call because she's thinking. The conversation was going so well, she's not used to dudes having something to do and can't talk. I mean, she may have had it, but she's not used to it, believe me. And especially in a social setting, you ain't at work, so, what's so busy? But do it. Just do it. Now, she may or may not make that call in an hour and a half. But believe me, the next day, she will be calling. There is no doubt. She will call the next day. They're not guaranteed to call in 90 minutes. But they are guaranteed to call in 24 hours. Preparation is essential. It's essential for this, especially. You can't really play this off right if you just go in cold, unless you're somebody like me that, is like I've been doing practicing even though I haven't, because as soon as I need it, I'm coming with it. Because it's a whole bunch of years into me, 20, 30 years, whereas you guys 1 or 2. So you got to understand that's a big difference. You have to go over this scenario a few times the night that you're going to go out. You just to go over it, practice to make sure. So you don't want, I guess, man. Well, let me ask you this: Do you want to get this all down pat, or do you want to? How do you want to learn it? You got to think of these things. You know why? Because if you get it down pat, the way we're going to do it now. You try these things. Otherwise, every little thing that come up that I say, every little part of what I say, you try it. Not that it has to work exactly, but it will. You know why? Because you're trying it when you hear it. When you try things after mulling it over, it's not pure. You want to try it pure, because that's when you're going to get the best result, and that's why, or when you're going to be able to actually duplicate it, because it's fresh on your mind. You do not